Hi, welcome to Tutorials Point. This video is on body language. So physiologically it is being said, each time I smile it makes me a happy person. So smile makes you happy and smile leads towards the happier lives. So let's explore in this video tutorial with regard to the body language world. And moving forward, we'll understand more about the course overview, which is Introduction to Body Language, why it is important to get introduced to a study called body language. And defining body language, let's have a working definition towards it. Significance of body language, the importance laid for the body language as a study, as a usage. And non-verbal communication quiz, just to understand a little bit in terms of how do we go back and incorporate after watching this video tutorial, and also share the same thing with your loved ones, with your family members, with your colleagues and your friends. And moving forward, what body language communicates, that is body language is your non-verbal communication. So let's understand that further in a very elaborative manner. Expressions of body language and deciphering it. If I tell you a secret today, how to detect a liar, I mean, I'm really interested to know your reaction towards it. So there's a study which talks on your eye accessing pattern. Each time I look up, I look down, there's something that I convey as a person. Pitfalls of body language. Every study and research has its own challenges and limitation. So in this particular topic, we will discuss more about as to what limitations the study of body language has and how do we actually go ahead, understand and master towards it. Conclusion, after all this learning, we will conclude the entire topic and take away certain learnings and take away certain information to go back and incorporate in our own lives, be it a social gathering or be it a business world. So moving on further, let's understand Introduction to Body Language. Well, I'd like to introduce to you a new study which is a body language, which is to do with your non-verbal way of communication, where I do not use words but I still communicate. So let's hear a small story here. So a teacher walks into a classroom and teacher doesn't speak a word. Teacher starts writing on the board without having a reaction and of what previous class he taught, and once he or she completes writing on the board, the teacher starts looking at the students, and the reaction that comes out instantly is, I am asking you a question and you respond to it. So each time this tutor, this teacher looks at a student, there's a response that student intends to give out. So what are we doing here? I mean, what is the analysis of this entire example? Even though the teacher doesn't speak, the teacher started with his own task, which is writing on the board, looking into the eyes of the students or staring at students one by one, and students took a initiative to either stand up to give a response. Well, this is the communication which happened through a non-verbal mode, which is your body language. So it is being said that 70% of what I speak is to do with my non-verbal communication. That is, I do not use the set of words, I do not use any choice of words or vocabulary words here, but I just communicate. So reading my body language could be from my hand movements, could be from my shoulder movements, could be from my the way I stand, the way I cross my feet. So this is to do with the entire non-verbal communication study. So body language, the initial fact to talk about is its importance being laid as to how we can form impressions and how these impressions would be the lasting impressions. So body language is actually a superpower, if I have to say it. And the most important aspect in body language is your positioning of your shoulder. So when I droop my shoulder, something like this, I mean I am insecure, I am not confident, and I am nervous. So a slight change in my shoulder positioning, that is, I make it little up and higher, I mean I am confident and I am not submissive, and I mean what I am talking. So just imagine this slight change from drooping to having this higher up of my shoulder plays a very important role when I am communicating, or probably any walk of a life that I come in from, either from my work profession or either from a social gathering point of view. So body language is the most important and most used among communication in today's world. And this is to do just light on the introduction part. Let's move on to understand it further. Defining body language, well, let's have a working definition towards it. The study of body language itself is called body language. However, there's a word which has been specifically coined to it, which is kinesis or kinesis. So this is to do with the study of body language, and this is a Greek word which means motion. So each time I communicate, I am in motion, I am in a situation where I am trying to put across a message through my gestures to my postures. And most important thing today to understand in under body language is the word gestures and postures. So when I say posture, I mean my the entire aspect of how I look at it, in the sense, my hand movements, my leg movements. My gestures has to do with my facial expression, that is my eye contact, my smile, or maybe to do with the way I present myself. And postures is to do again with my hand movements and my the way I place my feet, the way I position my shoulders. So these two words are heavily used under this study of body language. And to define once again the word body language, the study itself is called body language, and the Greek word which defines this is kinesis. So moving on further to give the importance, yes, it does has importance each time I communicate, each time I convey a message. I would really like you all to go back and recall an event where you did not mean something, but unfortunately you came out in an opposite direction altogether. That is, you were really wanting to be nice to this person, but maybe your body language conveyed it, and you did get a feedback on the fact that, hey, you know what, you didn't mean what you say. So that is how the body language is perceived. That is how we end up communicating certain messages on a very subtle manner. So to understand body language, we need to understand the fact that it exists in all three forms, which is subconscious level, at a conscious level, and at unconscious level. And honestly, to talk on the eye contact front, it is involuntary. That is, I do not have a control for my eye accessing pattern, and leading towards certain factual information. How do we detect a liar? I mean, we come across few people that often have the standard expression. They do not look into the eye of an opposite person when they are lying. I mean, likewise, we as well have encountered certain situations when you are lying at some point in time in your life with either your family member or maybe a colleague or your friend. You have not shown the eye contact directly to the person. That is, you have not looked into the eye of a person and then you have spoken. So this is a little bit on the leverage front of the importance, and let's move on to further explore and understand why it holds this kind of value towards the study, and how can we actually cope up and master towards the study of body language. The importance laid for non-verbal communication, that is body language, is to do a simple reason that you understand the intent, you understand the emotion of a person. So not just by words, but only through your gestures and postures, you can understand the entire intent, whether the person is actually interested to communicate, whether the person is really inclined to help you and to take the information forward in terms of either suggesting or in terms of either helping you and moving ahead in certain relationship aspect. So moving on, and I would really like to narrate an incident to understand the significance of body language in a much adaptive and better manner. So it was in the year 1960. So the picture over here depicts the presidential election back in the year 1960. So we have John F. Kennedy and we have Nixon. So Richard Nixon. So Richard Nixon was a seasoned campaigner. He was already a nominated presidential candidate from Massachusetts, and he already won certain presidential seats, while John Kennedy was just kick-starting his career. So the event to remember out here in a very historic manner, and this can actually help us to understand why body language is important, and the effective use can actually make us who we are, or lead us towards the aspiring role that we all are getting or we all dream about. So John F. Kennedy was a smart, a professional looking man who came on to the audience, in a television audience for a presidential debate. And Nixon was supposedly, he was back from interim sickness where he was unwell, he was hospitalized. So he was like sluggish in every aspect, not just from dragging out himself towards the dais or towards the podium. He was also looking very weak, sullen, and not up to the grades of a presidential candidate. So historically it has been said, each time John F. Kennedy have spoken something, because of the way he projected his body language, was well received, was well accepted by the audience. And to do with Richard Nixon, though he was a seasoned campaigner, though he was accepted widely earlier by the audience, right now the acceptance level went down. And it was said that the study of body language back those days was even more taken into account, because of very reason of how somebody would project an idea, project information, and how would they connect with the audience. So it was said that each time Richard Nixon gave responses, no doubt his responses were very political and very suggestive, quite calculative as well in every sense, but the acceptance level was low only because of his projection through the body language that he made it. So this even is a classic example to understand the effective usage of body language. And to talk about it, the simple secret of charismatic people is to do with the effective usage of body language. So moving on further, again this picture totally depicts of the story that we just heard and I have narrated on. So we see a confident Kennedy here, and of course the attire makes a lot of sense and adds a lot of difference, and we see a sick Richard Nixon. So this was actually this has created ripples in the history, and each time we talk about body language importance, this has been taken into account as a classic case study that the body language usage can actually make you who you aspire to be, and can actually make you dip down to what your aspirations hold for. So moving on, body language in the business world, like I did communicate, and I'd really like to reiterate the same thing, that body language in business world goes hand in hand. They are very synonym words to each other, and they are clear policies which have been laid out by organizations, by companies such as any company for that matter, an IT firm or a software organization, or maybe for that matter if I have to take anything aside your business world and I talk about university, I talk about a campus life, it gives you a huge leverage to understand the fact that body language can either take you to where you aspire to be, or either it can make you really not so happening person, a person who can be left out, who can be a loner. Just because the way I project, I can get people across, people confident people coming and getting along with the conversation, or probably having a conversation or not having a conversation basis on my body language. So moving on, this picture again depicts the very fact that how a handshake is important, your positioning of yourself, how it plays an important role, and as well as the way I am supposed to give a distance each time I stand in a group of people. So it has been suggested that you follow a one hand distance every time you connect, you talk to somebody in physical distance to each other. So there's a one hand distance that I follow. So you don't necessarily have to measure a one hand distance, but mentally you get it there that you follow a one hand distance out. And the handshake rule is very clear, that I give a firm, confident handshake while I look into the eye of a person with a smile. Understand, smile directly depicts the fact whether you're interested, whether you're enthusiastic about interacting with the person, or you're disinterested and you've been pushed to connect and talk with the person. So moving on, a small quiz to understand how a non-verbal communication can play such an important role can lead towards the very fact of making it more prerogative, more imperative to understand it. So non-verbal action, as simple as that, shrugging shoulders, stretching your arms sidewise while you're communicating, waving to someone, tapping someone on their shoulders, shaking hands without a firm grip, which is a total no-no. Yawning while listening to someone, I guess more or less we all undergo this as an experience where you do not mean that you're not interested, but what do I do it when see, yawning is an involuntary action. So how do I stop? Well, a small sorry would do it, or probably you step out, you yawn and you come back and communicate and go ahead with the conversation. So crossing legs while in a meeting, swinging feet, tapping feet to music. This is unprofessional when you are in a set of business conversation in a business setting. So while I do the same action back home with my friends, it is surely accepted. So turning the head side to the side while listening, whistling while walking alone, and this is again more like a very personalized action where you can do it back home with your family members but not in the business world. Scratching your head when asked a question, well, this purely show that you're not interested, you're not inclined, you're not in sync with what person is talking, while there are few actions which come in very naturally for us. So the action could be as simple as that, how I talk while I am talking or connecting with people. Like example, I have this body language where I give out a very open sort of body language setting each time I communicate, each time I talk in public. Likewise, each of us have certain natural body language style, but all I have to do is see whether one of these comes in very naturally to me, and which setting am I using these non-verbal set of communication, which plays a very important role. So clapping on listening to somebody, showing an outstretched palm to a speeding car, wagging one foot while keeping it on knee. Well, more or less we end up doing one of these non-verbal communication action, but context plays a very important role out here. So ideally would like to you to actually go ahead, understand these non-verbal communication pattern, and see what context you use it, and draw certain interpretation. So after you watch this entire tutorial, you will understand the very reason, the very fact that what one of these non-verbal communication holds for, and how do you either stop it, and even if you like to follow it, how would you do it, in what setting would you do it. Okay. So moving further, what body language communicates? So this particular picture depicts the very fact that somebody who is unwell, somebody who is disinterested to communicate, somebody who is not inclined and sync with the environment, to sink in with the conversation as well. So moving on, the second picture in the same row talks about the very fact, each time I look down, when I am communicating with a person, when I am communicating in a group, I convey a message, I am not confident, or maybe I am lying, maybe somebody pushed me for the conversation and I am disinterested in what's happening. And this particular picture with regard to the crossing of feet depicts simple reason that I am in a relaxed position, though I am open for a conversation, but however it does not talk more from a mannerism and professional standpoint, because I have a standing meeting when I am probably interacting with business colleagues or maybe with clients. This particular aspect of body language can be questioned for simple reason from professional standpoints. So moving further, to decipher this body language, that is thumbs up, which is your thumb upward, simply talks about the very fact that I am appreciating a task, I am congratulating somebody. Well, the similar sign when I give a thumbs down, it talks about that I am not appreciative of the task or the conversation or something which didn't really go well in the conversation, or maybe as a previous experience altogether. So moving further, this particular body language is quite interesting too. Well, again, from a professional standpoint, I cannot feed any information into somebody's ears. So when I have group of people being seated, I have set of people which are quite close to me and they are listening to my conversation, they are part of the conversation group. This is a total no-no, because it not just talks about unprofessionalism, it talks more maybe from a mannerism standpoint as well, that I cannot feed information thinking that the opposite person is not understanding, thinking that the opposite person doesn't know what I'm talking talking to the person whom I'm giving the information about. So moving on, this as well is one of the relaxed positions, but however this does emphasize little on the confidence front, and it does talk about my body language is open. So this can be taken into account in different settings. However, be mindful if it is business setting and business context, whether you would like to go ahead and do it on a similar lines. Yeah, interesting body language again. So I really would like to hear in the comment box below after this video tutorial, what comes to your mind when we show you this picture, and how do you want to sort of decipher and understand this body language type. So do share your comments in the comment box, and I'd really like to participate in the discussion as well. So this particular body language again talks more on the eye accessing position. Now this is the most interesting part of this video tutorial. I'm all giving you the heads up out here. So eye accessing pattern, that is my eye positioning, talks volumes about who I am as a person and whether I have integrity as a person, whether I'm honest or a cheat as a person. So each time I look up and I speak, I convey that I'm actually been recalling information, and I am looking to sort of get information from a repository in my mind. So when I look down, I speak, I carry certain emotions in my conversation, in my message. Likewise, I look up on the left hand side and I speak, and when I look up on the right hand side I speak, I convey different messages. And it's a very interesting to know that when I do not give eye contact, two messages that I give out very evidently as a person each time I do not give a proper eye contact. That is, I am a liar, I am a nervous person, I am hesitant, and I am unprofessional as well. So one tip that I can give for the people who are struggling with the eye contact is, look into, of course, the eye of a person, and that should come eventually, but start looking at least in between the eyebrows, or probably part of the nose, or part of the mouth. And when you are a little far behind, a person can not actually analyze whether you're looking into the eye or not, but they can actually get the sense that you're really looking into the eye, or probably managing to look into the eye. So if you're really struggling with the eye contact, start looking in between the eyebrows, or near the nose or near the mouth, and eventually move towards looking into the eye of a person, because that conveys you're more secure, you are true in every means on what you're talking, and you mean what you say. So that is what the emphasis of eye contact lays in the study of body language. And to talk on lines of this picture, this is quite interesting picture that at least I wanted to convey the very fact that the curiosity as well. So the curiosity can be displayed not just with my eye contact and gestures, but also my finger movement and how I lay a positioning of my body as well. So this is more on a curiosity, questioning mode, and more about open for discussion and open for conversation. So the next picture, I would really like you all to sort of guess the expression, and again, suggestion, do drop in your messages in the comment box below after this video tutorial, and we would like to participate in discussion with you all. Well, we have four different style of expressions here, and what does this expression hold importance, and what does this expression talk in lines with the body language study that we are talking about. And if I have to just talk about one quick information to share as a fact from this picture, is to do with this picture, which is on the last row, and which is third from the right. Well, that's more on professional lines, that's more on friendly lines, that's more on approachable lines. So 3 messages that comes out from one single picture: that I am looking into the eye of a person, I am open as a person to communicate, I am approachable as a person too. So do leave messages, and I would really like to participate and take it, take the conversation ahead from the comments. So interesting topic now. Pitfalls, like every study and research has its own limitation and challenges, so does body language has it too. So pitfalls of body language is simple, that you cannot independently pick up one aspect or element of the body language and start labeling, stating that this person have not matched the standards of body language. Example, somebody who has a natural style, like when I place my hand on my mouth and I say this is my natural style and this is something I cannot forego, and if I do so, maybe my content or my delivery part of my communication would be impacted. So a suggestion would be, if you're looking at the overall communication with this particular person or with this particular group, see to that if anything that is overdone and which is being distractive is where you're supposed to share your feedback or your suggestion with the person. Understand, body language is superpower, but it also distracts the listener. It also distracts the person who's actually looking at you while in communication or while not communicating with you. So likewise, if I go back to the same example that I quoted, somebody who has this as a natural style, and you cannot just hold that as a feedback pattern to share with the person that the person was not effectively have used his or her body language. So look at the overall aspect of a person. If it is an hour communication, an hour plus, that is 1 hour you have communicated with this person, or maybe you had a 15 minutes of talk with this person, look at that 15 minutes of overall communication pattern and see if anything which is overdone, anything which is distractive. Only then it causes a great concern or a challenge. Otherwise, there are certain things that you can just ignore off. Okay, so moving further. Now this picture is interesting as well. Now this can either depict that I am sick, I have backache from a quite long time, or I am not happy because I have been given certain amount of workload, or I am not really interested in what you are trying to talk about. But as a person, as an individual, I complete the task and I submit the task. So how would you hold this person responsible when you minus the body language part of the experience with this particular person? So I'd like to hear once again, do share it in the comment box, or participate in a discussion for the similar thing. So yeah, this picture again has its own questions and challenges to talk. So this picture has quite young professional people having a chat, having a conversation, but looking at it, yes, it isn't a thorough professional picture. When we look at the layout of the entire picture, that is positioning part of each individual here, the leg movements of each individual here, the eye movements, maybe the body turning movements, or maybe somebody like him who has placed his hands in the pocket. Well, one of the studies says it is unprofessional, it is casual. But when I look at the overall picture, probably overall experience with interacting with this particular set, I am all hopeful that the conversation would have been positive. I'm all hopeful that the conversation could have a lasting impression as well. So pitfall, limitation, once again, do not look on the minute aspects of the communication elements, the non-verbal communication elements, but look at the overall part of it and then decide whether it is suggestive, whether it is not, whether you have taken the information, whether the information was passed or not. So moving further, conclusion. So we like to conclude the very fact that people are naturally drawn to confident persons. So in order to be confident, my better usage of body language can make me one. So be confident and win success. So thank you for watching, and do share your your feedback, your suggestions, whatever you feel like, and we would like to participate once again. Thank you, and once again, thank you.